Welcome to Pop Culture Man Children. This is a podcast. If you're not familiar with us, this is a show on the interwebs where me and my co-host Emilio Sparks talk about pop culture and comics and fandom and movies and all sorts of fun stuff like that. I'm here at Jim Hanley's Universe, the Staten Island branch, the branch that
the original.
Yeah, the OG branch with Kathryn Calamia, who is a comic book writer and someone who writes about comic books and fandom and fun stuff like that. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm glad to talk about things I love.
Isn't that what it's all
Yeah,
about?
it is. It is.
If you like what you hear, subscribe to us anywhere that you could get podcasts. We got your Google Play, we got your Stitcher, Apple Music, Spotify, everywhere you want. You can just call me on the phone and I'll just talk to you. I'll just dictate it to you. I am Mike Buongiorno. My usual co-host, Emilio Sparks, is, I don't know where he is. I think he's working on his Swamp Thing cosplay.
That's a good thing to work on. I mean, that's a lot of work.
Yeah. He's a big Swamp Thing dude.
I'm sure he's excited for the show then, that they announced for the DC digital service. Yeah.
Are you excited for the DC streaming?
I am very excited. I'm a big Teen Titans fan, so I'm very excited for the Titans show. Minus the pictures that came out. I don't like seeing leaked pictures because that's unofficial stuff that...
Yeah, people reacted to those pictures so strongly, and it's like, they're not even acting in those moments. That was just like on somebody's phone on set. So you can't look at that stuff and go, oh my God, look how bad it's gotten.
And also there's other things that go in. As someone who has worked on a TV set, there's other things that go into it. It's just like, when you're there, that's not what's going to happen on TV a lot of times, especially superhero shows.
Yeah.
So...
Also, things I think should be allowed to have different tones. Like, Beast Boy's hair is green in that image. And I'm not sure if on the show his hair is just green or he's all green.
He is all green in, like...
Oh, he is all green?
Well, I know. Well, we don't know about the Titan show, but, like, in regular stuff, he's
No, I mean
the
new Titan show.
The new Titan show,
People
they've not
seem
announced
upset.
what they're going to do.
In that image, he has green hair, and he doesn't have green skin. And I would accept that.
It's an adaptation. I always say that. If you're not a fan of, like, Arrow or something, well, you still got the Green Arrow comics. It doesn't matter unless they're destroying something, like, in the Green Arrow comics because of Arrow. That'd be different, you know? And same thing for Titans. They will not be touching Beast Boy. He'll still be green in the comics. He's still green on and everything else. So just like this is an adaptation. And honestly, it brings more people to your fandom, so may you get more of it. I think that's... And even going back to that conversation of Teen Titans Go, right? People are like, well, I hate it, but it's not for you. It's not your demographic, and that's the point. That's how TV works, and I think people don't understand that, you know?
Little kids like Teen Titans Go.
Love.
First of all, and I'm a bit of a comedy snob, okay? It's legitimately funny. It's a funny show. It doesn't have to go to those weird places that Adult Swim goes to. You know, it's not Rick and Morty, but at least once an episode, I genuinely laugh at it. But people go, well, it's not for me, and I think that's the thing that's hard, you know, like
not to accept that it's not for you, because I'll even say, like, I'm not a huge Teen Titans Go fan. It's just not my type of humor, but I will never take away from the people that love it, you know, because it's like you enjoy that show and it's making you like comics.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. I didn't really like the new Ghostbusters movie, 2016 Ghostbusters, and I'm a huge original Ghostbusters fan, and I was a kid and I grew up with the original Real Ghostbusters series, and I had all the toys and all that. I was I'm still a super fan of Ghostbusters. I don't think the comics is that good, but the 2016 movie I was disappointed by, but I saw little girls dressed as Ghostbusters and playing around like the way I did as a kid, and I said, oh, well, they're enjoying it. Who am I, a middle-aged white man
who had Ghostbusters?
Who had it? I had it, right? Who am I to go, well, this isn't for you? If a little kid is enjoying it, you know, what we do at PCMC is definitely not criticism, but if there's something about me and Emilio that is, like, we're critics, I think what I'm proud of is that sometimes I go, oh, well, this just wasn't for me. Some things are just not going to speak to you. You know, I recently saw Ocean's 8, and some people love it, and I don't like it.
I hated it. But I'm happy with people who loved it, because it's like, cool, you have that movie. I'm not like, well, it sucks because of all this. I gave my opinion, respect my opinion, and please, I'll respect your opinion.
Right,
and I wish fandom was more like that. It's like, oh, I totally see your side, but that's not.
Why isn't it like that?
I don't know. It's just, I really don't. I think people take things too personally. It's like where you're attacking them.
Yeah.
You know, if you disagree with them.
Right.
And that's sad.
I mean, this is a weird question, but how long have you been a fan? How long have you been fandom?
Forever, I would say, right? Like, I don't remember a time where I didn't like something. Even, like, when I was a kid, like, Disney Channel was a fandom in a way, which is weird. Like, I was just like, I loved Lizzie McGuire. I loved
Oh, my God. I loved her, too. Although I was in high school, and it was creepy.
So that was, like, the first time I think I realized that. It is what dreams are made of.
Hey, now. Hey, now. I'm sorry.
Love Hillary.
I have to stop. Respect her.
Oh, yeah.
I'm with that Hillary.
Mm-hmm. Me too. That's the Hillary I'd vote for.
Yeah, I wrote in Hillary Duff, and it didn't really do anything. You were, I interrupted you. When you were a little kid, you were
so when I was a little kid, I loved Disney, and I think that's the first time I realized I liked something, right? Like, I was a fandom of some sort. It's a weird fandom because all little girls, or at least most little girls, love Disney Channel, at least in my age, because we didn't have as many channels, which is weird to say because I'm 23. We had enough. We had about 100, but not like it is now. You know, everyone has a lot of choices. Right. And also, like, things were a bit catered more to females, and now I think it's like, you can like Star Wars, you can like these things. But I still love, like, the guy shows as well because it's all I had. It's just like I would watch Static Shock and Teen Titans and all that, even though it's technically targeted to boys. But anyways, so I liked those things as a kid as well. But I would say Smallville was actually my first like thing, and then Heroes was huge for me. My YouTube channel is called Hating Claire Heroes. Still have never changed it because of nostalgia. Yeah. And then obviously I got into journalism and all that, and comics I've been a fan of forever. And you know, the internet has helped build your fandom more than just going to the comic book store, which is always nice. It's
participatory.
Yes.
Maybe to a fault, because it can get toxic.
I would say, in a weird way, TV is more toxic than comics. It's weird to say that. Yeah, I think it is.
Well, you just wrote something about the Arrowverse.
Yes, I did.
What did you write?
So I wrote on Fandom, which great website. It's like a wiki website. It was my first article over there. Yeah. I wrote an article about Avalanche, and let me say, I've gotten so much great feedback. You know, as a journalist, you will get different feedback too. And as a critic, I am a critic as well. I wrote a piece saying this is why I think this is a healthy relationship and why it works as a writer. I'm in graduate school for TV writing.
Can you explain for me and the audience what exactly you were commenting on? Because I'll be honest, I'm somebody who always watches the first or two seasons things and ducks out. I ducked out of Arrow, or I think season 3. I think I watched all of 1 and 2, and then in season 3 I was like, everyone's a superhero. Is there anybody who's not a superhero?
That's true.
And then I sadly never got into Flash. I know, what's wrong with you?
Okay.
There's only so many hours in the day. I can't do everything.
I'm a TV critic and comic critic, and it's hard to do it all. I'm behind, and I need to watch it for work, but I'm just like, how am I going to get this done before San Diego? So I've been trying to watch. But so
what's the arc you were talking about?
The arc was current season of Legends of Tomorrow is that Ava is this character that shows up in season 3, and at first she's not really a love interest. She's just kind of there as somewhat of an antagonist for our main character, Sarah, who showed up in season 2 of Arrow and is now the main character of the show. And they end up becoming a love interest, and I really liked how they both were individuals. I liked that Ava was less of a love interest and more of like, this is her stuff in the Time Bureau, and we learn more about her history in this season. And I'm not saying that there's not faults of the season. They'll explore more of it in the upcoming season, and that's what the article was about. And then I mentioned, because I feel like you have to have examples, because my article name was like, why is this the best relationship right now in the Arrowverse? I mentioned the Flash, and the Flash in its current season, Iris knows that Barry's the Flash for a while now, and they're married, and there's this point now where Flash says, I'm not the Flash, we're the Flash. And nothing against Iris, because I like her as a character, but there's definitely been problems with her arc, and a lot of people have complained that there's not enough of her journalism, enough of her being herself. She's always just helping Flash. And I feel like it's destructive to call yourself the same person. I understood the kind of cuteness factor of it.
You understand where it's trying to be sweet. Yeah. But at the same time, why is he not her?
Exactly. It's like why am I not Iris West?
It's like you're on the team now. You're an extension of me. And it's like, well, I'm also doing something on my own.
Yes.
As a critic and as a fan, as a human being, you have a right to that opinion.
Yes.
And how did the internet feel?
So I will say I definitely got some positive people that like Ava and Sarah, but then a lot of people are saying, you're just a shipper. And let me say, I'm not a shipper by any means. I really
Right.
If Ava and Sarah broke up tomorrow, my world will not be destroyed. It's just I'm a critic. I was talking about something in a story structure that I thought worked this season that obviously a lot of CW shows try to do, which is relationships, because it's targeting young women. That's what the CW's demographic is.
And why not? Yeah.
And why not? That's always been their demographic.
I'm not necessarily anti-shipper, but that's fine.
Yeah, and it's just so people are just saying, oh, why are you bringing woman down? I'm like, I think I'm bringing Iris up. I want more from her, you know?
Right. It's interesting because this is something that happens on the liberal side of things where we crucify each other for not being liberal enough or not being liberal in the way we want to be. And I'm not giving a label on you, but you were saying something about why can't she just be an individual character?
Yes, that was my point.
Right, and then someone else tore you down as if you were being misogynist, and it's like, no, that's exactly the opposite of what I was thinking.
And I want to say nothing against their opinion, because they have a right to their opinion, and I didn't answer because they do have a right to their opinion.
Sure.
I want to bring them down for that. If that's their fandom they like, go for it. I'm glad you're passionate for something, but don't tear other people's work when I did bring evidence there. I needed to bring evidence, and if I wrote something wrong and I didn't support it, I'd feel differently. But I supported why I felt that way about Iris, and it was the "We Are the Flash" moment.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it was based on something. Yeah. That's good writing. You're a good writer. Obviously, I have a podcast, right? So I'm for everybody having a voice. So I'm not somebody who's like, hey, don't be negative. You know, and I'm not someone who's like wants everybody to be like rosy and lollipops and puppies. My problem is, and I'm not saying this is you. This has happened to you, but it's happened to a lot of people. My problem is when rape threats happen and the gender of the writer is brought into the criticism. And I'm a big Star Wars nerd. I know you are a Star Wars nerd too. Kathleen Kennedy, who has produced some of the best movies ever, E.T., Back to the Future, and now all Star Wars movies, she's getting so much shit over whether people hate Solo or hate Last Jedi, or loved Solo but hated Last Jedi, or whatever it is. And so much of it ends up coming out in such weird, sexist, scary ways.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, that's the line for me. I don't care what you say. Like, go ahead and have an opinion. I think that's one of the good things about the internet. But when it gets to weird violence, it's like, dude, you need to think about why you get so angry at women or so angry at a person of color when they have an opinion or when they have control over something you love. Like, a lot of people want Dave Filoni. You know Dave Filoni?
No.
Dave Filoni is the man in charge of Star Wars Animated. Okay. He was the executive producer of Clone Wars, and then he was the executive producer of Rebels, and he's going to be the executive producer of Resistance, which is the new series that's coming out. It's mostly Poe Dameron, and it's right before The Force Awakens. Okay. Anyway, so a lot of people like his work, and I like his work too, and I don't love it, but I like it. But a lot of people like, get rid of Kathleen Kennedy and put Dave Filoni in, and it's like, I think they both have had hits and they've both had misses.
But they're also different mediums that people have to see. One's TV and one's movies, and that's two different. Even though a lot of people, I think, from the outside perspective, like, oh, that's like the same thing. It's media. It's like they work completely different ways.
Filoni actually, think, has a lot of leeway to do things that he wants to do, because there are episodes of Clone Wars especially that are just super like weird little stories, which I think are cool. But people want him in and her out, and it's like, well, why? Why do you need this guy in?
Yeah.
And some people will say, well, you're making it political because I just think he's better than her. And it's like, okay, fine. Most people don't think that they're racist or think that they're sexist. People don't think that they are, but just go ahead and look at your hate list. If everyone on your hate list has a vagina,
then there's a problem.
Maybe you do have a problem that you're not aware of.
Yes.
Or maybe not. Again, this is where, when it comes to like Last Jedi, I'm all for. Some people hate that movie for legitimate reasons. Yeah. I love it, but some people
love it too.
Hate it. I'm not one of these people that goes, oh, you don't like it, you must be a sexist, because that silences people who genuinely don't like the writing of it or whatever. But for those who are proud of running Kelly Marie Tran off of Instagram because they were racist and sexist to her, and they feel like they've won something by...
Even if you don't like her character, and I'm going to say I didn't love her character in the movie. Right. I thought there were problems in her plot. But don't attack the woman. Right. Come on.
I'm right. She's the actress playing the role. She didn't write it. She just wants to be in movies. And also, what does her ethnicity have anything to do with her performance?
Seriously. when I saw that and you referenced it, I'm like, yeah, let's talk about this, because that's the toxic place in fandom. Yeah. And I want to say there's a lot of positivities. I don't want to dog because I found so much love in fandom, and we could talk about right here, talk about things we love right here. So I want to say that there's a lot of positives, but there is a lot of negatives out there too.
Right now we're in Jim Hanley's universe, the OG, the Staten Island store, where I've spent so many years coming in here. I remember the old store in the corner. Do you remember that?
Yeah. I was there too.
You're a good 12 years younger than me.
I know, yeah. No, I've been going here since forever.
Yeah, this was always like, when I think comic book store, like this is what comes into my mind, because this was the one. For me, this has always been a positive place. I've gotten into cool debates here. I've never gotten into anything weird here.
Same.
This has always been a cool, safe space. So you're right. There are really awesome places, but then there are weird corners of Reddit.
Oh yeah, Reddit's probably the most negative place. It's just it's interesting to see those opinions, but man, Reddit. Twitter is less toxic than Reddit.
Have you been on the Teen Titans Reddit subreddit? I
have not.
For a subreddit devoted to something, it is so hateful.
Oh god.
Because it's not, we hate Teen Titans subreddit, but if you just do subreddit Teen Titans, there'll be one positive thing, and then hate. One positive thing, hate. And it's like, dudes, why are you spending so much energy hating the thing you love?
I don't get it.
Just don't give a shit. Like, I'm
offering
difference. Yeah, like if I don't like something, I'm like, I'm not tuning in. I'm not putting up a campaign against it.
No, exactly. I'm trying to think of something I didn't... Alright, Gotham. I didn't like the show, and I'm a huge Batman fan.
Yeah.
I just didn't watch it. I never dug it. I said, these are the problems I had, blah, blah. I totally understand where it's targeting, though. And that's the thing. No one understands where these things are targeting. It's like, if you're a Batman 66 fan, I think you actually would like Gotham. I think it's like a darker version of Batman 66,
Because it's bananas.
Yes.
It's bananas.
Yeah, and I'm not a Batman 66 fan, but that's also because I didn't grow up with it. I watched it when I was
am a huge Batman 66 fan. Because I grew up in the 80s, and in 89, when Tim Burton's Batman came out, 66 came back in syndication.
Yeah, Nick at Night and all that,
Yeah, and I watched it every day. Yeah. And I was actually just talking about this in another episode. I had no idea it was a comedy, because I was so young. I was just like, Batman, more Batman. Maybe that's why I like Teen Titans Go.
It's the same thing, and that's okay. It's targeting another demographic.
I think, as much as I love the Dark Knight trilogy, I think Christopher Nolan, in some ways, has had a negative effect of everyone thinking for something to be good, it must be serious. And if it's not serious, it's bad. And it's like...
Man of Steel. New 52 effect. We're finally getting out of that and learning, wait, Superman's not a dark character, that's just Batman.
Right.
And even Batman, I think Batman's at his best when he cracks a smile sometimes, which is like...
Absolutely.
Because he is a little sarcastic.
Well, for somebody who's all alone, he certainly has like a huge surrogate family constantly around him, so...
Dogging him, too.
Yeah. So he definitely puts up with this. Yeah. I think Wonder Woman was the first real good step for the Snyderverse.
And they know that, too. They're like, oh my god, we gotta make more Wonder Woman. And they're trying. I think now they're like, let's not make it a universe anymore, at least from the line they have coming up. Let's just make their separate movies. And I think that's the best way to go.
Yeah.
That we don't reboot and you have to take away Gal. Because she's like the best that's
you don't want to get rid of her.
You don't want to get rid of Gal. That's like your most successful movie.
Yeah.
So they're doing Green Lantern Corps. Just announced Jeff Johns is writing it completely. So that's awesome. And then we'll see how Aquaman is. Shazam seems like it's going another direction. I think Aquaman will be the last of the Snyder remnants.
Yeah. I've said this before in the show. I always want to make this preference. Something tragic happened in his life that brought him away from this work. And I feel bad. Like, obviously, that's the worst thing that could happen to a person. But the other side of me feels like I've liked this stuff better. I actually even liked Justice League, because I feel like Whedon came in and lightened it up and made Superman smile. And
I like those parts. I thought the movie was a mess, but I definitely...
the movie's a hot mess.
Collecting the Rubik's Cubes.
It's... I forget who said it, but it was like, no, there's not one MacGuffin, there's 3 MacGuffins, and you have to put them together. And there's a CGI PlayStation 1 villain who I still don't quite understand what the hell he was trying to do.
It's a horrible movie, but I agree, and as someone who's a huge Whedon fan, I love Buffy and all that, like, I do see his little voice there, but because it's like, there's 2 directors, like, kind of attacking each other's ideas, it's just a mess of a movie, but there's maybe promise. I'm so upset that Whedon won't be doing Batgirl. I'm upset about that. and that goes back to like the other side of feminism. Feminism's not about saying only women can do this. Feminism's literally about equality. So don't say women can't do this because he's not a woman. He's obviously written good female characters and cares about women. Right. So
feminism has become a really bad word, but all it means is equality.
That's it.
So when somebody says, I'm not a feminist, I always think, do you think your mom should make as much money as your dad? Do you think your mom's just as much a citizen as your dad? Well, then you're a feminist.
Exactly.
I want to talk about your books.
Oh,
because you also are a creative writer. You have 4 issues, right?
Yeah, 4 issues of Like Father Like Daughter and 1 issue of The Dancer.
Okay, let's talk about Like Father Like Daughter. There are 2 printings of the 3rd book,
Yeah,
right?
there's 2 printings, so it's just different covers.
Yeah. Is that series ongoing?
Yeah. So we're working on issue 5 right now. Inking is in development. That's going to be an ongoing series. I have so many ideas for it. It's just because
so you don't have an end game in place?
No, not for Like Father Like Daughter. For Dancer, I do. That's a mini series. It's 4 issues. But for Like Father Like Daughter, so many ideas. It's going to be for me like the Spider-Man, Superman. It could go on forever.
You just wanted to keep going and going and going.
There's stories there, at least in my mind, that can. Unless there's a point where like Invincible, he ended at like what, almost 200. He's I'm done. You know. Then it's like okay. But right now, I have a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
In the indie community, though, we have to print slower than Marvel and DC,
right.
so that's the sucky part.
It gives you a lot of time. Like, I like issue 1, but if you look, and I reread them this morning, if you look at issue 4, to me, this is much better than issue 1.
Oh, it is. And for me, it is, too. Because I wrote issue 1 like 5 years ago. There's things I want to change so bad. Because I'm like, I've improved as a writer from there.
Right.
I'm like, oh my God, why is that there? And even artwork-wise, I think just as a publisher, we've improved. So
yeah.
It's like,
not that one's bad. It's just you can see, you have a real ability. Because I'm sure, because writing a script, you can just do very easily. It's everything else. It's the printing and everything else. So you probably sit with the stories for much longer than anybody else.
Oh, yeah. I miss sitting there, and I have a lot of, in our next issue, it's like a huge twist in our book.
5?
Yeah, issue 5. The last page, it literally changes our story. I'm just like, I've been holding on to this for 5 years. Wow. Yeah, I'm just like, and it's like a big part of the story. And then issue 8, I believe, is another big twist that changes our story.
All right, so you said issue 8. How many have you written?
I'm up to issue like 12 now.
So you're way ahead in
writing. I'm way ahead.
But you change things and stuff.
Yeah, you have to.
Because the first issue was. When did you write the first issue? Oh, what was the first issue printed?
4 or 5 years ago.
Right, because issue 4 has a Bernie Sanders reference.
Yeah.
And he would not have. I mean, some people knew him, but he would not have been part of the zeitgeist when you did the first issue.
Yeah, so my artist is a big Bernie fan, so I was like, go ahead, add it. And he's a big Doctor Who fan, too, so you're going to see a lot of Doctor Who.
Oh, absolutely. Wes is like all like he wears the... Like, more and more it seems like... Like, in school, he's not as Doctor Who-y, but outside of school, he's dressed like 10, and he's... I love that.
I'm glad you noticed that. I'm actually only seen 2 episodes of Doctor Who.
Really?
And I know about the fandom, obviously, because, you know...
It's an old one.
It's an old one, if you are in geek fandom at all, you know, like, the basics of it. So, like, I was like, oh, yeah, I understand that reference. I'm sure some just, like, go over my head. I'm like, wait, have fun with it. I know you love Doctor Who, do it. Yeah, it takes a long time to do these stuff, and then you change stuff, and, like, even some language change. One thing I hate, I don't want to say hate about issue 1, because I don't want to dog my own stuff, but it's just, like, there's some language that worked back then, like, I think I said mad something, and back then... That when I wrote it, that was actually a word in Staten Island people would use. That's why I added it. But now I'm just like, oh, I wish I didn't add that. And then even like things that I'm actually writing a TV script for it now. Yeah, and one thing I would have changed is that I think Stephanie would have known that Casey's dad was invulnerable because now I understand their friendship more. Yeah, like when I was writing it, I think Stephanie was just there as the best friend. Now she is her own character. And
she's got more to...
I know who she is now. So back then, I was like, she would have known. Like, they're a lot closer than I realized.
You're finding it.
You're finding it.
Look at the classic age of comics. I mean, like, from issue to issue, they're changing people's names and they're redoing things. I mean... Part of the creative process, I think, is finding stuff. Now we have less of a... we allow that less, I think, because you're like, you know, we've got so much information, so we can be like, wait, in this issue, you said this. And it's like, well, now I say this.
Yeah, it's like you understand the character more. Like, I'll say that because I don't like this to be like a plot point, because it's not. It's just who Stephanie is. Stephanie is a bisexual character, and that's something I didn't know back then when I wrote it. But as I was discovering, it's like, oh yeah, that's going to be a plot that we'll do soon. You know, show it, and I'll show like examples of it. Yeah. And again, I rather that not be like, oh, it's a surprise, because sexuality shouldn't be a surprise or used as a plot point. So it's just like, yeah, those are things you discover as you go along. I won't spoil anything else. You discover stuff about the characters. So
actually, let's backtrack just a little bit. For anyone who hasn't checked out the book yet, which you should. Like Father, Like Daughter is a really cool, simple premise, which is there's a superhero named Invulnerable who's sort of like a Superman. He's sort of got like normal class. He's strong. Does he fly?
He doesn't, but that's going to be a misconception as the series goes on, that everyone's going to think, oh yeah, you totally fly. It's like, no.
He kind of jumps like the original
he can jump
Superman.
High,
Yeah,
Superman, I don't know if he flew in the original. I don't think he did.
No, he didn't fly, I think, to the radio show. I think the radio show. Okay. Yeah, because, you know, in the original thing where they go, faster than speed, able to
jump.
Leap. He literally could just jump, because originally it wasn't the difference of the red sun, yellow sun. It was a gravity difference. Krypton had stronger gravity, so he could jump
Superman
more.
Can change. Our characters can change.
Superman changed, and so much of what came from Superman came from like the George Reeves show or the radio show. You know, there was no like. I might be wrong here, nerd, so don't hate me. But I think the radio show was where like Perry White and the paper and all of that came in. I could be wrong.
I wouldn't be surprised. I've studied a lot from like papers I've done about like this, because it's so interesting to look at just Superman in media and how that, because Superman really changed superhero media in so many ways, but that's a whole other topic.
Right. He's really the first, if you don't count like Zorro or something.
He's the first superhero.
I keep getting off track. So Casey is a girl, high schooler on Staten Island.
Yeah, I had to do it. There's no Staten Island here. The closest we have is that Jane Foster's from Staten Island.
Yeah, and the new Purge movie is going to be in Staten Island.
All right, that's the closest. Then.
Yeah. Her father is this superhero, and he left the family because he thought it would protect them. But she, you know, her father left her when she was a kid, and she is beginning to have powers.
Yes.
So in some ways, it's very classic. We exhibit powers. She's like, oh shit, what do I do with it? But she has this interesting where she can go and ask her father, how do we suppress the powers? Because she doesn't want to be a superhero, at least so far in the series.
She has heroic instincts, as you see in the first issue. She saves that boy. And she's like, oh shit, well, I know that I want to help people, but I never want to put on the costume, because that's the very reason my father left, you know?
Right, she sees it as like, it's very fascinating, and I really think it's great writing, because superheroes are so often, the archetype of a superhero is selflessness, but to Casey, being a superhero is selfish. She thinks putting on the costume and going around and calling yourself a superhero is a selfish thing to do. So it's really fascinating that she's like, no, I don't want to do that. You know, it's perfect rebellion. Your father's a superhero, so you're not going to be a superhero, even though you've got these instincts.
Yeah. And she wants to help people, you know?
Yeah. It's simple enough to not be convoluted and to feel classic. It's got a classic feel to it. Invulnerable feels like a sort of Superman-ish guy.
Oh yeah, that was the point. The red and blue was there for a reason. I'll say I wanted him to be like, hey, if Superman left, you know, his kids, what would that be like? And that's exactly what it is. And I've gotten so many mixed feelings about Casey, and it's interesting because that's kind of what I want. I want Casey to be real. I don't want her to be perfect. And somebody's like, oh, you know, I don't know if I like Casey or not, or if I do like Casey. Some people love Casey. It's just like, I feel for her, like I know what she's going through. And some people are like, she's always angry. I'm like, but her dad left, and I think women are allowed to have anger issues.
Right. You know who else is always angry? Batman.
Yeah. He's brooding all the time. Casey's a brooder. But she knows it. That's one thing about Casey. She's very aware that she's kind of has these issues. So she's never going to deny it. She's going to be like, no, I have resting bitch face and I know it. But I'm an okay person. You know, if you meet me, you talk to me a little bit more. I'm a friendly person. It's just like, I have issues.
She's got the, she's a full person.
Yes, that's at least what I'm trying for, you know?
So, I relate very much to Wes.
Oh, thank you. A lot of people do, and that's the point of his character, so yeah.
He's also, and I know you're a Whedon fan, he feels very Xander to me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And maybe it's because Xander hung around with two strong women, and it's the dynamic of two women, one guy.
And Wes is never scared of that. Well, that's one thing I always want to show is Wes is very, I think, proud to be friends with them. He's never like, I'm a man, I have to prove myself. I'm actually writing this Comic-Con issue of, right now I'm writing, and there's a scene where he's like, oh yeah, I got my nails done with them to get a manicure because now I'm dragging you to Comic-Con. But it's not like, oh, I got a manicure, that takes away my masculinity. It's just like, nah, I want my nails to look nice.
Well, Wes is a Doctor Who fan, and we tend to be very chill people.
Glad to hear it.
There's some toxicity. Some people were upset about Jodie Whittaker being
not
the
as
new
bad,
Doctor.
though, as another fandom, honestly.
Not as bad.
Yeah.
A lot of people were very proud. Part of that's because in 2005, when it came back, the executive producer was Russell T Davies, who's the creator of Queer as Folk.
Okay, yeah.
And Doctor Who is very queer, and I mean that in, like, not that he is a homosexual character, but he sort of, it's been heavily implied that he doesn't understand gender binaries or sexual binaries.
Which makes sense because of the regeneration aspect of it all.
Right. And he's an alien, and he doesn't get why we have these weird prejudice.
Yeah.
So, I totally understand why Wes is so chill.
Oh yeah, I love it. And then I made Stephanie like a semi Doctor Who fan. That's one thing. Like that's something I wanted Stephanie to be, was like this middle ground. It's like Casey knows nothing about this kind of geek culture, and Stephanie's like, I dab in it. Like I know what it is, but it's like I'm not like Wes. Wes is like your information, it's like he's the one, like if you were in a comic, this is how you'd react,
Right.
He wants Casey to be a superhero desperately. He wants it, but he also understands as a friend. He's like, I won't push the girl.
Right. They live in a world where there are comics.
Yes, there is. Invulnerable comics as well.
Are there? I was just going to ask you that. Are there invulnerable comics?
Yeah, so it's just like in our Heroes Ignited, so it's our annual we do every year. They went to JHU Comics and did research on comics, and then Casey's like, oh God, there's invulnerable comics. Of course he's making money on this. And and then he's like, no, it's for charity, and it just is like retelling of stories that have happened. Because if you read Marvel comics, they do that. Like if there's She-Hulk comics, and it's just retelling of their adventures in like a weird way. So I wanted to do that with Invulnerable.
Is Invulnerable the only, besides where Casey might go, is Invulnerable the only real superhero in their world?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it makes sense.
Yeah, so he's the only one. So that's why it's just like, I have to do this. I didn't want to hurt my family. It's that trope I always hated. It's like, I can't tell my family because they'll get hurt. But like, they're going to get hurt either way, So he just wants to separate himself completely, and that actually hurt Casey more because he left. So it's like this complicated, I wanted more about the emotions than anything. Play with the tropes, but it's about these characters more than anything.
We were talking off the air about you said you're writing a pilot. Do you want it to be an hour long?
Yes, hour-long pilot.
So like a CW-ish.
I think that's where it fits the most, because I think kids or teens could
There's
relate
something
to it.
soap, and I don't mean this is, I love this, but there's something soap opera-y about the hour longs.
Oh, yeah.
And do you see that in your book? In your story?
I wouldn't want to like drag it or be forced. Like I wouldn't.
That's a word no one likes. No one likes the word soap opera. But
but I understand what you're saying. As someone who's in television, I understand what you're saying. It's just like that's strategy a lot of superhero dramas take. What I would do, I would hope all my stories are organic. Like in issue 3 of like Father Daughter, where they have the kid who's dealing with depression and goes to school with a gun. I wanted that to be an organic scene. It wasn't like, we're talking about guns, I wanted to be like, no, Casey could use her heroicness without her abilities, and she shows that to her dad. So that's something I wanted to do. So I would hope with the television show I would do the same, showing quote unquote soap opera-ish things without it being like a soap opera where it's like, here's this random, storyline because, it's dramatic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Even in the 4 issues that are out, you are expanding more and more. We're getting to see, we get an idea of Casey's boyfriend, I guess, or whatever he is.
There's going to be a lot going on in the next 4 issues, but it will be stated, like, why they're not really talking to each other right now. It's like, oh, we had a lot going on in our life, maybe we'll see if this is the best or not, It's also like a high school romance, so it's just like things were going on. That'll be addressed, but...
What Staten Island school did she go to?
I went to a Catholic school, so I kind of played it on that, but I obviously didn't want to make it a Catholic school, so I just played it on, like, a prep school. So I guess it'd probably be closest to, like, Staten Island prep. That would probably be the closest, but I played it off of, like, the generic Catholic school.
In a realistic way, not in a male-gazy,
fetishy way. No, I wanted it. No. I wanted to honestly show their privilege at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's something I wanted to show, because there is privilege in Staten Island as well, and I think it's interesting to look at, especially seeing Casey's background. You know, her not having a dad and all that. So that's something I kind of touch upon, but not making it the full story yet. But that's why that's the setting that's there.
Do you have in your mind, or maybe in a drawer somewhere, superhero outfit for Casey?
Actually, there's a variant cover of, I think, issue 4, where she's in Invulnerable's costume. There might be things that I've thought about.
Okay, good. well, you've written issue 12, so...
yeah, we're up to issue 12, and there's so this arc is obviously fully Casey, and next arc will be more about Stephanie, and more about Casey too, but it's going to be more about Stephanie, because things happen, and we're going to see their friendship, because I don't think there's enough of that, girl friendships, you know, not talking about guys all the time in a
Passing
comic.
the Bechdel test?
Yes, exactly, it does, because even though it's weird, because I think it's kind of this middle ground, because Casey's always talking about her dad, but it's because it's about her, though. It's not about, like, her dad. Right. It's like, no, it's about my powers and how it affects me. Yeah. So it's a weird kind of thing there. But, yeah, no, Stephanie and Casey, I want to show a real friendship between them.
That isn't catty or anything.
They like each other. They never fight. And when they do, in my mind, it's just like, in my mind, it hasn't been revealed yet, because there's no opportunity for them to fight. It's like one of those things, and this is something with my own best friend, we don't leave the room until we get this accomplished and say, hey, why are we fighting now? And I think that's the same thing with them, because they really appreciate each other. You know, they're just like, all right, we misunderstood each other, because they're human beings. They're never, they got to get in a fight sometimes, but it's not like, we won't leave the room and, like, you know, be catty and, like, talk about each other on Facebook. And, it's just like, no, let's talk about this, because they're more like sisters than anything.
Yeah, you can see that. You can see that even from the first scene where we meet Stephanie. Yeah. That they're close.
Sure.
Let's talk about the dancer.
Yes.
Completely
different comic.
Well, it's got a cool, it's black and white. Yeah. And it's got a cool noir feel. To use cinematic language, you would call it high contrast. Yeah. Meaning the darks are very dark and the lights are very light.
Yes.
Very shadowy. Tell me about where that came from.
Again, completely different from like Folly Daughter. And, you know, one thing I've always seen is martial arts and dance are so similar, right? Yes. So because they're both about movement, and especially in media. So dance, I don't think a lot of people see the hardships of dance. Right. Like, you see, like, you get hurt. There's bloody feet.
Dancers, like martial artists,
a lot of muscles.
It's all about conditioning that body.
Yes.
And, you know, I dated a dancer once, and I've seen bloody feet, and I have seen, like, shit where it's like, wow, like, you might as well be a boxer.
Yes.
You have no idea, like... I totally understand what you're saying.
And a lot of people think it's, like, so prissy and all this. It's like, oh, ballerina, what? But you honestly, you put a lot of work into it.
Yeah.
And I'm not...
And it's also, I'm not in that world, but I've seen that world. And
same. I would say the same
cutthroat.
Thing. Oh,
it's
yeah,
cutthroat.
For sure. It's cutthroat. And I think that's another reason why the book is about Mia not being able to have relationships with each other, with other people. It's just she's not good at them because of what happened to her, because she lost her parents, and she's like, even her sensei, who's pretty much her dad, she cuts off. Yeah. This, you know, her boss, who is the person who's telling her to kill people, she cuts off. Right. Which I think some people who've read it is like, oh, is there going to be a romance there? It's like, maybe potentially there could have been, but she can't make relationships with people. She's very much this introvert. So it's like this hyper story about being an introvert.
In some ways, she reminded me of Aeon Flux. Because Aeon Flux, for you kids, although it's coming back, for you kids, Aeon Flux she was an assassin / dominatrix. It's never explicitly said that she's a dominatrix because it was
I'll have to watch
MTV, but it's very clear that she's a dominatrix. Yeah. She's both. There's actually one episode where somebody's looking at, like, some sort of dominatrix porn magazine, and she's on the cover. But your character reminded me that she's not a dominatrix, she's an assassin / dancer.
Dancer, which is this kind of weird world that I think it's very much about perfection too. It's very much like you need to be this pinpoint person, and she puts that in her life. I have to be perfect. And then, she kind of takes out her aggression as this assassin, because she's like, hey, I'm going to defeat the bad guys. And this is very much about a gray moral compass here. It's like she kills these parents pretty much in the end of our issue 1. And she's like, oh shit, I'm the villain that did the same thing to my parents
died.
So this whole issue is going to be about her psychological journey. That's what I'm going to say. It's very psychological, and by that last issue, you're going to have to read this all over again.
And there's going to be 4.
Yes, there's going to be 4 issues. We're working on issue 2 right now. The last issue, story completely changes. If you read my work, I love twists and turns. So
no, that's great.
I want to keep people on the edge of their seat. And I remember I was up at like 4 a.m. I was like, wow, that's the story. And then I figured it out. I wrote the little piece of the ending, continued the story. It's about her relationship with herself, and I'll say it's her relationship with her childhood. That's something I'll say. Something she never grew up correctly, and I explore that. So it's less about, because people are like, who's the villain? It's like, she's the villain. That's the point of the book. It's not like, oh, she's got to defeat someone. She's kind of has to, like, defeat her own demons in a way. It's like if Batman ever dealt with his trauma. That's what this book is. She's dealing with her trauma. She's being forced to deal with her trauma because of this moment.
If he ever dealt with his trauma in a healthy way, instead of this weird psychosexual thing he's got going on with the Joker.
For sure.
Do you ever get sick of that there are, Superman's created in 37, Batman's 38. And still, I love these characters too, but do you ever feel like the same conversations keep coming up? Like, can you compare my characters to somebody other than Batman?
I think because people especially just know Batman, which is fine. It's just like, I don't like when people are like, oh, well, you're doing exactly Batman, why should I read this? Like, because every story is based on something, especially in comics.
Losing your parents goes back to Jesus and Moses being sent down the river.
I'm sure there's a Shakespeare story back there too. Like
it's the oldest narrative trope. So
Greek mythology. It's all there.
It doesn't come from Batman.
Batman took it from somewhere else, and I think people don't understand that. And these are just stories that I think, for my personal thing, I didn't see a story that compared martial arts and dance. And if it did, they never did it directly.
I think it's very clever.
Thank you.
And I'm interested to see where it's going, because I'm interested in the difference between being a superhero and an assassin. I've currently become sort of obsessed with Gwenpool.
Okay.
And even Deadpool, too, is like, well, what's the difference? Like, if somebody's paying you, you're an assassin, but if they're not paying you, you're a good guy?
We'll go to Heroes for Hire, right?
Right.
So you got Luke Cage and Iron Fist, you don't kill, but they're getting paid for what they do.
Right. Does that make them, what does that make them?
It's so weird. No, it's this kind of interesting fine line. So yeah, for her, we never actually even bring up that she's paid or not, but she has a job, so I mean, she's definitely getting paid. But I think the difference is like, do you kill or not kill? And for us, it's just, or for me, it's more of like, well, what's a bad guy, Like, what's a bad person? I think in stories, it's very much, well, because they're against the protagonist. They're the antagonist, right? But, I think now stories are better developed saying, oh, no, there's never a good person or a bad person.
To that little girl who we see at the end of issue 1, whose parents have just been killed.
Yes.
Those are her parents. She doesn't think of her parents as bad guys. They're her parents. And they're good guys to her. There's an interesting moment before the dancer comes in and kills them, where you see them having sort of a normal dinner. And it's like, they're just a normal family that, no matter what these two people are that she's got to come and take out, they're parents that love their kid.
She even references that, and this is actually a line we added like right before we printed, where she's like, it's so weird to see bad people do mundane things. It's just like, because they are people. And I love, one of my friends really likes the scene where she takes out the gun in a cookie jar. Because that's just such a family household thing. Your gun's hiding in a cookie jar. Very Kill Bill in some ways. But I love talking about the story. It's cool, and I'm glad that you're seeing kind of the inner workings, because I have seen that some people have read it, don't completely get the themes, but I can understand. It's a very
it's issue 1, and there's places to go. I like that the targets for issue 1 are a husband and wife team, and again, you subvert expectations by the wife being the leader. Without the wife, he kind of gives up, and he's like, And in so many other stories, he would be the leader.
Oh, for sure.
He would be the real killer, and she would be, you know, the Bonnie to his Clyde, and it's not that way.
And it's like, oh, well, it's feminist because she's even there. Like, right? That's in old stories. It'd be like, oh, it's cool. She has girl power because she's there and holding a gun. It's like, no, like, she actually is, like, the one holding, you know, doing this. And the husband is just like, I haven't even killed anybody before. And then he, like, kills himself, which this will come up later on. Pay attention to that scene. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
Definitely pay attention to that scene. There's more there. But yeah, there's a lot of symbolism in the book coming up for sure.
So is it frustrating to be an indie writer, because I could see you're full of ideas and full of scripts.
Yes.
And the process of creating the art and printing it is, you know, you're not able to do it every week like the big two. So is there a sort of like you're stifled, like you have so much you want to say,
for sure. You
know, and it's like you know what's going to happen in issue 10 and it's going to blow people's minds, but the way things are going, it might be 3 years before you get there.
I'm telling you, this issue 5 of Like Father Daughter, I've been sitting on for 5 years, and when you see it, it's gonna be like, oh shit, how does she sit on this? And some people I've told, because I'm just like, I can't sit on this any longer. It's so big. So
stories want to come out.
Yes, and then it's hard, even for like a normal writer working for Marvel and DC. You see that they have to bite their tongue, but they gotta bite their tongue for a lot less time than I do.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's why I haven't written as much Like Father Daughter recently, because A, I'm working on the TV script, and B, I don't want to be so ahead of myself that it's just like, it's crazy. So
also, the world is changing. I mean, Trump wasn't the president when you wrote the first issue.
I will say it's interesting. Things that are going on now are more, you'll see in the next issue, are more relevant than what it was before. I just wrote, the villains of the story are going to be very relevant. That's all I'm going to say. I use them because it's like, oh, we haven't heard of them in a long time. And you get like kind of, the villains are kind of shown in issue 4. But, you know, we haven't used, so I hinted in there. So don't worry. Issue 5, it's going to be explained. I'm teasing here, but it's a lot more relevant now. But back then I was like, oh yeah, I'm just going to use it because these people haven't been using it in a long time. And now it's very relevant.
Okay, all right, great.
Yeah.
You know, the good thing that's come from the Trump presidency is art has a lot more screaming to do because of how fucked up everything else is.
For sure. It's crazy. But going back to the conversation, being indie creator is hard, and I think it's because people don't know the difference between getting a book out there as an indie creator and a Marvel DC. It's like, you know, I want to go into people who read comics online and don't pay for it. Because people are like, you know, I'm just not going to pay for it if I don't like it, you know? And it's just like, then comic book industry is going to die. And same for indies. Like, oh, what, you know, why don't you just give it to me or something? It's just like, because then these books will literally not exist.
Do you have any kind of digital distribution?
We do. So Comixology, for Like Father Daughter, we have issues 1 through 4, and on our store you can buy
those
them
you
all
pay
digital.
for.
Yeah, you have to pay for those.
Right.
So, but we always give, like, there's moments where, like, read issue 1 for free, or we have so many, like, when you do a Comic-Con for us, if you buy, like, 4 issues, you could buy, like, 3 issues, get 3 issues digitally for free, anything in our store. So it's like we give opportunities for people to buy stuff for free or get stuff for free, because, you know, we love that you're supporting us.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a hard business, and people don't understand. It's like, oh, what, you know, when's issue 5 coming out? And it's like, it's written, it's happening, but we have a lot in the pipeline. It just doesn't work like that. We can't, and we have.
Do you have an idea of when we'll see it?
Yeah, actually, I could say the next Kickstarter is Like Fall Like Dark, because we have a lot of titles. I'm the PR director also for the company, so I know what's coming up for it. So the next Kickstarter is going to be our trade, and I guess I could say this, is that issue 5 will be attached to it for our stretch goal. So
okay, cool.
Yeah, so you'll get issue 5. It's going to be this summer, so.
All right, great.
Yeah, so it's coming up.
Fantastic. You must be very excited for that to happen.
I want people to read that last page. It's huge.
Yeah. You do the classic thing where it's like, well, I got to read the next. I've got to read the next thing because something has just happened that I need to get into.
If I read a comic and nothing happens, I'm like, ugh. So I never
Why would
want
I
to do
pick
that.
up the next one?
Exactly. I never want to do that. And as someone, I've been a critic for comics for 10 years. I've been doing it since high school, so I've gotten used to the format and what I want to see. I put in my own comics. I know the industry, so I'm just like, I know what people are going to want to buy, so that's what I try doing. But I do it for myself too, you know. It's like I want to make a good product, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
One thing we do on this show is we have a regular segment called Our Obsessions. Mm-hmm. And I want to know what your obsession is right now. What's on your desk? What's in your iPhone, it could be music, it could be a book, it could be a comic book, it could be a game. What right now is in your nerd heart?
Right now, well, there's 30 comics on my table right now because I have it's a big haul this week, and I review comics. So, but obsessions comic-wise, Runaways I love. I love the TV show as well, and I've always been a big Runaways fan. So, and I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. Rainbow Rowell. Rowell. See,
it's like
never. I knew I was pronouncing her last name wrong all the time, but Rowell just sounds.
I mean, it looks like Rowell.
It does. Rowell. Okay, and then Chris Anka. I love their work, and she understands those characters so much and gives.
She's a great writer.
So good.
I'm a big fan of YA novels, and her YA books have been really good.
Oh yeah, I've heard great stuff.
Fangirl is huge. You know, it's one of those things again where I go, it's not for me. It's my least favorite of her books. Like I saw her at a panel at BookCon last year, and it was filled with these. And Fangirl is about a girl who writes fanfic.
Nice.
And her life.
So it's like Miss Marvel.
Yeah, exactly. And I saw these girls of all ages screaming at Rainbow Rowell, and I was like, okay.
Fangirl.
Like this is... So I was like, this is not for me.
She deserves all the success, too, because, even on Twitter, she's very active. She's very proud of her work, and I love people that way, because I do the same thing with anything I work on. I really try to interact with either my YouTube viewers, that's how I started, so YouTube, or even my comics, like I'll always answer questions and stuff like that, so.
She answered a question for me on Facebook, because I read all her books, and there's a cameo in one of her books by a character from another book, but it's not explicitly said. And I saw people like online and Reddit talking about it, so I just went to her Facebook and I said, "Are these those characters?" And she was like, "Yeah."
I love that. I love that.
She was like, "Thanks for noticing." And I was like, because it was the two characters from Fangirl show up in her novel Landline, and there's a weird description where they're describing, because the main character in Landline, she basically hitchhikes and two people come, and it's the two characters from the other book, and they describe the characters and describe that she has a engagement ring, and I was like, that's a weird thing to just add to these random characters. And then I was like, wait, it's the characters from that other book. She's telling us that they eventually
The good thing about Reddit, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right, the good thing about Reddit. Absolutely. So you're loving Runaways?
I love Runaways. So good. I love Paper Girls. Yeah, you've read Paper Girls, right?
Here's the thing with me. I've got a life of anxiety, depression, and marijuana use behind me. So my memory is awful. So I don't read issues. I read trades.
That's
because I literally won't remember. So I have read the first 3 trades of Paper Girls multiple times and love them. I've got the 4th one on my desk, and I have to read it. And I'm sure, and of course, I'm behind on the issues. So I feel like I'm a big fan, but I also can't talk about it that much because I'm not where everyone else is. But I'm a Brian K. Vaughan fan.
Oh, yeah. So
and I love Paper Girls. Yeah. When people say, what is Paper Girls like, I go, imagine Stranger Things, but good.
One thing about Stranger Things, they aim for nostalgia. Paper Girls was promoted as in a way where they didn't tell you anything about the book. All you knew is about these girls, Halloween night. Okay, you read it. Oh my God, it's in the 80s. It's amazing. And then they're like, no, it's not in the 80s. It's a time travel book. So they actually play on your expectations of nostalgia because this is a book about coming of age. So it's actually a book about growing up and saying, hey, stop relying so much on your nostalgia. You got to grow up. And that's what this book is about. It's about, first of all, women growing up. You don't see that often in a comic book. It's about, women discovering themselves. You see that with KJ, you're up to that with the third arc. See that with Mac, Erin, she meets her older self.
How you might be disappointed by your grown-up you.
Yes! You'll get that in the 4th arc as well. I know you haven't read that. With Tiffany, you're going to see a lot more of that. And there's so much symbolism about like technology and religion, and so good. Yeah. You read it multiple times. Another book that's really good, Snot Girl. I don't know if you read that.
I haven't read that. What's it about?
It's about this girl who's a like social media mogul pretty much. So she's like your generic Instagram famous girl. She loves to be pretty and, loves the next thing. And she's kind of two-dimensional, but because of that, she's this really dimensional character because she's hiding the fact that she has allergies. And this is the end of the world, right? And the book becomes really psychological because you don't know what's actually happening because she's an unreliable narrator, which is not used in comics as often as like novels. The book opens up with one of her new friends, her head like gets cracked open. Okay. And then like the next couple of issues you find out she's still alive. So it's just like, is it because of the allergy pills? What's going on? And then you kind of realize either she really wants to be this person or she sexually really likes this person. So it's like also maybe a discovery of her own sexuality. It's a really interesting book, but you have to read it a couple of times to actually understand because it is, she's unreliable. So you don't know what's actually happening in the book, but it's very much
fantastic.
So good. It's so good to see, again, a two-dimensional person doing that. So it's just like, actually going deep in also social media culture, you know? How does that affect us as people?
Yeah. Like, you've got Batgirl on your shirt.
I do.
And she likes her social media.
She does now. She likes her selfies and all that.
I like not so serious Batgirl.
I like both of them. So I loved Gail Simone's run because I love... one stories I really enjoy is exploration of PTSD, which is a lot, obviously, in The Dancer. I wouldn't say as much in My Fallout Daughter, but I mean, still exploration of the psyche. So I love that. I love those type of stuff. Yeah, with Batgirl, I love Gail Simone's New 52 run, where they actually dealt with her being shot and, you know, the trauma behind that. So I really enjoyed that. But on the other side, the flip side, Burnside Batgirl brought a lot of fans to her comic.
Right, because it's light and cute, and it's like Burnside is Gotham's version of Williamsburg. And it's like she's kind of hipstery and
I don't mind that because as somebody who is also in her 20s, I think it's a very relatable comic. I wouldn't call myself a hipster, but
well, this goes back to Teen Titans, where it's like you don't have to say there's one way to do it.
Yes,
you could have a serious version and a fun version,
especially with
and
superheroes.
Right,
it's
why
all
not?
about the take. If you read comics, you know it's about the run.
Right.
So Tom King's run on Batman is completely different from Scott Snyder's run.
Yeah.
None of them are wrong. You can enjoy whichever you like, you know?
Yeah. One argument, me and my co-host Emilio had a big argument on a recent episode because he's a huge Thundercats fan and he's so anti the new Thundercats, Thundercats Roar, which is funny because it's like Thundercats Roar, Teen Titans Go. It seems so similar in how they're handling it. And I'm less of a Thundercats fan, so it's not as precious to me, but still I'm like, the old Thundercats is there. This is going to be a funny version of it.
A spoof. Just like Teen Titans Go.
Right, exactly. And I think that's cool. Like, why not have a million different versions of things?
Well, especially because like I've never seen Thundercats in my life. I'm a 90s kid, so if it brings people to that fandom, your kids, you can watch with them Thundercats. Right. Why not? They'll enjoy it.
I can imagine a kid now liking Thundercats Roar, and then maybe dad will be like, hey, guess what? There's like a more serious version of it from the 80s that has amazing animation, and kids, or loving it or not loving it, but whatever.
You share that moment with them, and I think that's the point of this nostalgic era we're living in, right? Is that as parents you can relate to that. And I'm not a parent, of course, but it's just like I know a lot of people I work with who are parents is like, I love Teen Titans Go because of that. It's just because I can relate that to my kids. And one thing I love about the new cartoons, especially superhero cartoons, they're bringing girls into it. Like, as a kid, I didn't feel ashamed because I always loved comics, but I always felt, I guess, different because I'm like, why do I like these boy stuff, Like, why? Right. But it wasn't boy stuff. I just like superheroes, but it was the only avenue that I could read it in. Yeah. And then once you get into comics, which in some ways, comics are more forward than TV and movies in some ways, which is strange because a lot of people wouldn't think that. People were like, well, only men read comics, only like
which is
kids.
A statistical inaccuracy.
Yeah, it's just like women read comics, queer people read comics, minorities read comics, and I think people that are minorities relate to comimies even more because you see like, oh, I feel different, and like they feel different too, and I've seen that, and I think that's really interesting. So you see that with like comics are trying to be more progressive than, I think TV second, and then I would say movies obviously is dead last. Video games is somewhere in there, don't really know where they're trying, I guess. It's a weird place, but
then you've also got the weird toxicity of what happened with Gamergate,
which also there's Comicsgate too.
I'm so happy that you came on the show. What's out there, and where can we find your work?
So At Comic Uno on Twitter is the best place to find me. Again, I respond to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And if you want to follow more of my comic work, Short Fuse Media on Facebook. We promote our books over there, and I am the PR person over there, so you could contact me there. And also like Follow My Daughter on Facebook. I have a YouTube channel. It's under Hayden Claire Heroes, but you search Comic Uno and you'll find me because that's my show. And then I write for Newsarama and Fandom currently, so you could check out my work over there.
Fantastic. And you know me, this is Pop Culture Man Children. If you like us, hit the subscribe button. We're on Google Play and Apple Music and everywhere your podcast needs are met. I'm Mike Bongiorno. Kathryn Calamia, thank you for being here.
Bye-bye.